Would you like to add some fun, grab more attention, and retain more content in your sales and training meetings? I can help. Just stay tuned after this episode to find out how.
Welcome to the 10-Minute Car Sales Talk Podcast, where it's all about life in the car business. Telling you like it is, here's the man with the plan, Terry Cameron.
Welcome to another episode of the 10-Minute Car Sales Talk Podcast. I'm Terry Cameron. This week we're going to talk about how to do a proper TO to finance. But before we get started, let me remind you, you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook. You can go to the 10minutesalestalk.com website and shoot me an email from there. Or, better yet, why don't we just hop on over to iTunes or whatever platform you're listening to this on and give me a rating and maybe even write a review. I appreciate the feedback. So like I said, we're going to talk this week about how to do a proper turn to finance. A lot of times we want to blame things that go wrong on other people. You know, how many of you have blamed the finance manager for taking too long? Or maybe trying to sell too much product. Payments were a little bit higher than the customer wanted. What about when the finance manager had to call the customer back because they had to re-sign another piece of paper because you did not get the proper payoff? How many times did you blame the customer blowing out of finance on your sales manager or your used car manager? Rarely do we ever blame anything like that on ourselves. But, you know, there's a way to turn a customer to finance. And that's what I want to talk about. Not just how, but when and where to 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 your finance manager. If you slow down and think about it, if you want to just push a customer from you to the finance manager, it makes it a little bit tough. The customer's just getting used to working with you, and now we're going to shove them into the finance office, and they have to meet somebody new and start all over again. So we want to slow down just a little bit. We want to give our finance manager a chance to build rapport before the customers move to the finance office. At our dealership, we do this 100% of the time. One of our finance managers, actually I like to, at least when I'm dealing with a customer, I like to refer to our finance managers as business managers. Just sounds so much more professional. I remember my first purchase when they told me the business manager was going to be with me just shortly. I thought I was really seeing somebody important. And I guess I was. The finance or business managers are very important people in the dealership. Sometimes they're also the most profitable department in the dealership. So we got to make sure that we give the business manager an opportunity to build rapport. They come out to the showroom, meet the customer in a more comfortable setting, maybe at your desk or in your office. They feel a little bit more comfortable there. The finance manager will sit down and talk with them a little bit. But we have to know how to introduce our finance manager also. We definitely don't want to just say something like, "Hey, Debbie, are you ready for the Jones yet?" Or, "Hey, guys, this is Debbie, and she's going to take care of your paperwork." You introduce your business manager as a professional and transfer some of the credibility you've worked so hard to establish to them in your introduction. So when the manager comes into your office, stand up and introduce them. "Mr. and Mrs. Customer, this is Debbie Fox. Debbie is the business manager for a dealership, and she'll be handling all of your paperwork." Again, your dealership may want you to use the title finance manager, and that's okay if they like that. Either way, you have to make it professional. We also have to tell the finance department a little bit about our customer. Just like you would when you go to the desk. You want to talk to your sales manager or give all your sales manager the information they need to be able to pencil the first deal or to be able to TO the customer a little bit more effectively. We want to let them know that the customer is interested in strictly interest rate or that they drive a lot of miles and most of it's highway. We want to give them some ideas and some information to where they can formulate a plan on what products they're going to introduce to the customer. It makes it a lot easier, and whether you get paid on that or not, the dealership survives on those products. So you have to turn them to the customer with them thinking about that. Let the finance manager know as much as you can about the customer. Now, don't scare the business manager away by telling them, hey, they're not going to buy this. They said they don't want that. They aren't going to go a penny over this. That really doesn't matter. Because believe it or not, at least in most cases, that finance or business manager is the best closer in the dealership. And my dealership, I know that's a fact. I see it all the time. So we want to make sure that our finance managers are set up for success. So after your finance manager's taken some time to build rapport and investigate about your customer and their driving habits, they should say something like, hey folks, give me just a few minutes to get your paperwork ready. And Terry, why don't you go ahead and get your customer something to drink while they're waiting? It should only be a few minutes. Now, what if they can't get into finance right away? What if they're backed up? One of the biggest complaints in the process, in the sales process we hear nowadays, is how long it takes. And sometimes that's just a necessary evil. The finance managers can't just rush them in and rush them out. It's too important. When we spend all the time talking to our customers about how important the safety features are, how important the comfort is on the vehicle, well, if it's that important to them, it's got to be even more important on how they're going to make their payments, who they're going to be making their payments to, how long it's going to be. We don't want them rushed when they're in there. Our business managers are going to spend some time, usually a half hour to maybe 45 minutes with each customer, depending upon the questions the customer has or don't have, or also how tough the customers are. So one thing you don't want to do, if you know it's going to be a while before they get in there, is tell the customers over and over again, hey, it'll be just a few minutes, and then a little bit longer or a few more minutes later, you tell them it's only a few more minutes, or they're almost ready, you should be next. Instead of that, tell them it's going to take a while. Let them know there's a couple of customers ahead of you, so let's go ahead and get the things out of your car now. At our dealership, we provide nice carry bags for our customers to empty their personal gear out of their car and move it into a new car. We can let them do that. We can also go over the navigation system. We can go over Bluetooth. We can go ahead and maybe program the radio to the right stations. We have got to keep them busy, and that's what we like to call resetting their internal clock. It's still better if the finance manager will take some time to introduce themselves, especially when the finance managers say something like this. Folks, they just brought some customers into my office, so it's going to be about 30 to 45 minutes. So, Mr. Salesperson, why don't you save some time, and you guys start transferring things out of the trade and start explaining the navigation system. So, Mr. and Mrs. Customer don't end up in New York when they're trying to get to California this summer. I should have everything ready to go by the time you're finished with that. Now, at this point, you really have nothing. So, you only have a commitment, not a sale. You got to move things along smoothly, and that means keeping your customer busy while they're in the finance office. Not only that, it's part of your job. You're not just paid to sell the vehicle. You're responsible for that customer and the sale all the way through you getting paid on it. Remember, transparency is really big nowadays, so your customer wants a real easy transition. So if you're setting them up properly and you're getting everything done while they're waiting to get into finance, that makes it a little bit easier. Your finance manager wants a completed deal we have all of the paperwork, miles, VINs, everything. So during this time, you could double check, make sure you have everything right. So when they do get into the business manager's office, it goes much smoothly, and you don't have to worry about them blowing out or having to come back in a couple of days to re-sign some paperwork. It's really pretty easy. If you help your customers understand all this and not just let them sit waiting until the business manager comes out, you're going to earn more sales. They're going to tell people about how smooth it went. Also, if it's a new vehicle, your happy customer scores are going to go up. They're not going to talk about how long it took to get into finance. There's a lot involved in this, and it's not just handing them over to the business manager. So let's look back and discuss what we were just talking about. You've done a really, really good job. You sold the car, and now it's time for the customers to get into finance to complete their paperwork. Hopefully at your dealership, the business manager is going to come out and introduce themselves, or you're going to introduce them in a professional manner. If it's going to take a while, let's let the customers know that it's going to take a while. And during that time, let's get some of the stuff taken care of that we would have to normally do after they come out of the finance office. It's going to keep them busy. Time's going to go by so much smoother. And when they do finally get to meet that business manager, either for the first time or the second, if they were TO'd a little bit earlier, things go smoother, quicker. You have a happier customer. And now it's on to your last step, and that's delivering the vehicle properly. And we're going to talk about that in the next couple weeks. The TO to the finance manager is one of the most important TOs that you'll do. It's got to be professional. You have got to edify them and treat the business manager as a professional. This is an important decision that the customer has made. They're buying a car from you, and you want it to be smooth. So think about it as if you were in their shoes. Make it easy, keep them busy, and make sure you gather all the information so the process moves along smoothly. So again, guys, I want to thank you guys for listening, and remember to hop on over to iTunes, leave me a review, maybe give me write some comments to help me out. I appreciate all the feedback I can get. And again, if you think this is important and you think it's worth it, share this podcast with a friend. Remember, the sky's the limit. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Please rate it on iTunes and visit the 10minutesalestalk.com website to send an email. We appreciate your valuable feedback, and don't forget to share the show with a friend.
Trainers, managers, and teachers, are you looking for a way to add fun to your training while keeping 100% of the focus of your class? I can help you because I discovered a tool that is attention magic. I've been using this tool for over 7 years, and it's always a hit. I'm talking about Game Show Presenter Gold software. The amazing thing is that it makes it fun for people to pay attention, and people do pay attention to something that's challenging, competitive, and fun. Here's how it works. Game Show Presenter is a multimedia template. You just choose one of the built-in game show formats, then customize it with questions and answers about your topic, and your game is ready to play. The software handles the music, graphics, and scorekeeping. Game Show Presenter works with almost any audience, but for training salespeople, it's a blast because their competitive nature kicks in and they get a chance to show what they know and sometimes embarrass themselves a bit for what they don't know. Either way, the game makes for a memorable experience. I have a link to the Game Show Presenter software on my website, so come check it out. I've arranged for my listeners to get a 10% discount off the $99 one-time price. So be sure to use the buy link on my page, 10minutesalestalk.com. Game Show Presenter Gold. It'll transform your next training session like magic.